Does your liberal individualist society have any role for trade unions? And if so, what is it?
Well, no doubt, if I were owner of an enterprise and trade unions had not been invented, I would invent them. I would have somebody to talk to on behalf of the workers, but I would not tolerate them taking any exclusive monopolistic control. So far, collective contracts for the people who want to accept them are all in favor. But of course, the whole problem is that the trade unions, particularly in this country more than elsewhere, in the course of time were granted privileges which the ordinary citizens has not. Essentially, various uses of force and violence in order to prevent other people from working with the terms that they work. Particularly an effective prevention of all use of violence by pickets must be carried through in all strictness. So long as there are possibilities of workers prevent other workers from working, I think we still have an intolerable position, which is not compatible with an operating market system. And I am convinced that in a functioning market order, trade unions must have no monopolistic power of any kind.
So you would outlaw the closed shop. You would presumably also insist that trade unions must be answerable at law for any actions they undertake, like other citizens. And the underlying principle here, I suppose you're saying that people have a right to undercut other people's wages. That is a human right like any other.
I'm sure they have. I don't see how you can possibly morally justify it. See, it is not realized to what extent present trade union powers leads to an exploitation of a large part of the workers by the others. And one of the most extreme forms of it is that by driving up the wages of a particular group far above that of others, these groups attract most of the available capital, because the more expensive labor becomes, the more it's worthwhile to replace labor by capital. With the result that capital is attracted to those industries where wages have been driven up fastest at the expense of the others. The mass of the workers can't get better equipped and therefore cannot be made more efficient by investment, because the investment goes all to where wages are highest already.
So you're saying that trade unions cause unemployment?
I'm sure that not only unemployment, they keep the wages of a large part of labor low.
Why then do they continue to be so widely supported? I think in Britain, for example...
You just don't understand it. The naive idea that you can, by fixing wages, drive up the wages of all workers, still prevails, although it should be obvious to any intelligent person that any wage above a competitive level must mean that some people earn more at the expense of others who don't get employment at all.
But I noticed that, for example, recently in America, some defenders of unions have argued that by increasing wages, they compel companies to be more efficient than they would otherwise be. In other words, that they are themselves part of the cold blast of competition.
But see, that's exactly what I've been saying for a different form. Yes, it is true that where wages are pushed up most highly, the firms are compelled to invest much more than they otherwise would, and therefore to adopt technically more advanced things. But that happens at the expense of labor elsewhere. Capital which ought to go to the industries where labor is least well equipped by capital is diverted to the industries where labor is already equipped with a great deal of capital, where wages in consequence of that are pushed still higher, while the workers who need assistance from capital most urgently, in those which are still little mechanized, are deprived of that capital.